Oh yeah, we're locked and loaded. It looks like Intuit is out. I also see the move in Ethereum down. I saw tracking 3,600, but continuing to look weak after market. We'll check out a story for that, Dara, if you can quickly find it. But Intuit is out. I don't have the numbers. We always talk about this. If you punch on the first move, you get absolutely burned. This was up at 675 and then all the way back down into 640. It is retracing, so the back and forth action is certainly coming into play on INTU. We are expecting to get Ross as well, along with Deckers, but let's be real, those aren't gigantic in terms of trading, but Intuit is to the downside, which, quite frankly, literally everything was today. We'll get into that a little bit, but I just want to double check to see if we have Ross stores out here yet. So, whoops, it's R-O-S-T, it's roast. Yeah, it looks like Ross might have come out and done the dipsy-do, like it tanked down into 130 and came right back into 132, not moving a heck of a lot. It looks like INTU is the one that's moving the most. Continuing to the downside here, it's down about 6 points. It's a $600 stock. It is flying around. If you guys are trading the aftermarket, always be very, very careful. Let's be real, it can get a little bit nasty. When you pop up the daily, it's going to be difficult on a day like today when you're failing the 52-week highs on Intuit. So earnings are out. Dara, do we have the numbers?
I have Intuit numbers. I couldn't find anything on Ethereum, but I do have some stuff here in Intuit. So basically, full year, so here's some of their guidance. Full year, they're looking for 1679 to 1684 for EPS versus the estimate of 1641. So that is going to be well higher than expectations here. Full year revenue, full year revenue is well higher than expectations here. 16.614 billion, 16.164 billion to 16.2 billion versus 16.05 billion expected. But here we go. Let's see the numbers that we had for Q3 here coming in. Revenue 6.737 million versus 6.737 billion versus 6.647 billion expected. So that is going to be a beat. The EPS also looked like a beat here. Adjusted EPS 9.88. Versus 9.37 expected. But they are announcing that Ken Lin, I'm not sure who he is at the company here, I need to look into that. Ken Lin retiring from Intuit around end of 24. They also named their CEO of Credit Karma as of August 1st. So it seems like some executive-related switch-ups for INTU.
Not good. Yeah, not good at all, at least in terms of price action, but it's not that bad. I mean, 5% isn't gigantic. That said, that was the expected move. The expected move was 4.6% on INTU. Now, obviously, not as big of a deal, some of the earnings plays, but I think some people might be concerned with when Ether is moving around. This is the dump right at the close here, and whether it was technical, who knows, but it was right into 35,000. You lost a bit. It was about 280 bucks in just a matter of a minute or two there on ETH. So pretty nasty movement in the aftermarket here for ETH. But if you're going to do any kind of a review on the day, which we're about to recap things, there's Intuit still working to the downside. But if you look at these ETFs, what is up right now? What is up? SMH and a little bit of wheat. That's it. Absolutely nothing is red on this ETF board, or is green on this ETF board. You've got the weed names that got smoked, 8% down MSOS, KWeb down 2.6, silver, which has been great, down 2%, GDX down 2%, XFI down 2%. Well, Shawn's giving me guff because I said the weed names got smoked. Here's the thing, when you're talking all day, sometimes the puns that you say are going to be the most obvious ones. There's only so much you can do with this. They're down 8%. I gotta say they got smoked. There's nothing else, although getting smoked is a good thing in some cases. But also,
I liked it.
A tan to the downside as well. I mean, we've seen some of these names in space. First Solar specifically has been an absolute banger. FSLR, and this is a great thing that Raider Trader mentioned today. Actually, I mean, he said a lot of smart things, which he usually does. But if you're looking at the entire group of these solar names, when down 3.5%, FSLR, which is by far the best performing one, is only down 1%. This is the entire point of identifying relative strength and weakness, or looking for longs in the best of breed, and if you look short, don't look for those. So that's what it's all about, because that's exemplified in what happened with TAN and then FSLR today. XBI down. I mean, ARC's down 3%. Really? We're shocked at that? Absolutely not. No, I'm joking. We're not shocked at that whatsoever. So out of it. It gets hard. When you do a recap of how the market is doing, it's like SMH is up because NVIDIA had a big day.
Yeah.
Everything else is down. I mean, wheat's up 0.5%. I don't really care. Do you guys care? Probably not. I hope so. Well, if you do care, I'm sorry about that. Ether's still looking a little bit weak here. But Adara, this was your first time, I think, live trading for maybe the biggest earnings day that you could ever get. So just give me a little bit of your experience here so far.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. I had one. I wish I had more to say about NVIDIA. I wanted to take one NVIDIA trade, and then I realized I do not have enough buying power for NVIDIA, which makes sense because I don't really trust myself with that either, so it's all good. But anyways, I tried to take one NVDL trade. I didn't give myself enough room. If I had given it like basically about 10 more pennies, I think it would have been fine, because I was trying to take that, I think one of those bounces off 1047, but it's all good. I did have a couple trades I was really proud of. This ended up being my best day since going live, which I was really proud of because it actually, I was down quite a bit at first, and it was just about coming back, finding stuff I liked. I had one AMD short off that 162 level, and the reason I didn't keep it is because it wasn't planned. I was looking at AMD for someone in the chat, and I was like, you know what, I like this, I'll get in. And then so I gave it 40 pennies. I was pleased as punch. I took 40 pennies on it, and then it dropped another like multiple dollars. But for a non-planned trade, I'm happy with how I took it. Then I also kept taking PDD short off the 156. That went from my worst name to my best name, so I was really proud of that.
Look, if you were short at any point on AMD today, that is a win.
Thank you.
It would have been very difficult to lose on a short in AMD today, because that was an absolute dumpster fire. My trade ideas is freezing on me right now, which is a little bit frustrating. I'm trying to change symbols on there. I can show you. I'll try to get it back up, and I'll get you a chart on AMD. But so, like, people have asked, like, what's going on with ETH? What is the news? Remember, there was the deadline today for the first of the ETF approvals. It was BlackRock, and then tomorrow's would have been ARK, the deadline. So, end of the day happens, and there's nothing. You get a little bit of a flush here. This is a 15-minute chart, but if you pull this up, like, if you look at a daily on where ETH has been, it's still, well within the bull run. I think it looks absolutely fine. So at the end of the day, I think it probably has more to do with the fact that there wasn't anything that happened positively for them. So some people just selling. And today, look, it's been a selling kind of day. So the notion that anybody would have been quick to pull a trigger to take some profits on pretty much anything, I think makes a lot of sense. I might have to restart my trade ideas, or like alt control, delete my PC. But it doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, you can pull up any chart of AMD anywhere and just see the absolute carnage it was. Like, I learned a lesson today for myself. Like, yesterday, I was dip buying NVIDIA, and I liked every single time I got into it, with the exception of one stop that I blended into another, which you never want to do. You always want to have a defined out, because I was pretty convicted in that trade. If I look back, I didn't have the same level of conviction in AMD dip buys today that I did NVIDIA. So it's always frustrating. And I think the other thing, too, is like yesterday I know I had a better job of getting it back. Part of that was because GameStop, like, I like that GameStop afternoon rally thing, and it actually did it. Today it didn't. So I didn't have that in the back pocket to make a bunch back. But it is what it is. You've just got to get back on the horse. I think today was a difficult day for a lot of traders, because they thought NVIDIA could have carried other things higher. And if you came into today thinking NVIDIA was going to carry things higher, you got smoked, because NVIDIA was going higher, and even at the end of the day, it caught that fantastic bid. I'm so happy to hear that you did well. I want to double check we're Intuit, and some of these other ones are going, but like I said, like, my charts have somewhat frozen here. I'm going to do the old alt control delete thing. I'm curious. Do we have the numbers out on Ross? Because I was expecting Ross stores to be out, and I wanted to check. We do,
yeah. So they did pretty well. I'm going to get the numbers here. So Q1 sales, 4.585 billion versus the estimate of 4.833 billion. So that is going to be a beat. They also had a pre-tax profit coming in as a beat as well, 360 637 million, sorry, versus the estimate of 595 million. So that's also going to be a beat. They did have a slightly cautious outlook here, saying that there's ongoing uncertainty in the macroeconomic environment, but they projected earnings per share for fiscal 2024, 579 to 598. Not seeing where the comparison in that was, but given the cautious outlook, I think it is safe to say this could have been a bit of an unexpected move. Regardless, though, there is a nice move to the upside here for ROST. Market seems to be reacting pretty positively to this. Let me pull up and see what we're doing here on ROST. But yeah, I mean, other than the cautious outlook, yeah, we had this nice move up. We certainly did have nice numbers as well in terms of what we actually reported for this quarter.
Chickens have come home to roast. Does that work?
I like it.
No, it doesn't.
I like it.
Now, see, here's the best thing about Adara. There's many great things about Adara, but the best thing about Adara is the absolute infectious positivity that is there. Because even if you say a bad pun, which she's the queen of puns, she's still going to give you credit for it. But Ross, it is strong. There is a good move upside. I'm just double checking. It was only supposed to be 6% expected. So if it holds on to this 7% move, Ross Stores will be up more than expectation going into tomorrow, which tends to be a pretty good sign for some continuation. So good look on Ross. The other one, I want to just quickly double check. Deckers, it's been up, it's been down. It just looks like it's hanging around. No defined direction. You're up 4% on Deckers Outdoor, but no defined direction. And then I believe we should have had, Workday is the one that's getting shellacked. Yeah. If there's a prize for who got it the worst on earnings this afternoon, it's Workday by a long shot, down 9%, $24 to the downside on Workday. Not a good look for them, and we'll get to the numbers in a bit. And this has been making a bit of a bounce, a failure of the 50 period here in the daily. Nothing about that looks good for Workday, so that is just nasty. It's always more fun looking at NVIDIA blows out $26 billion in revenue. Look at the stock go. That's way more fun to do than, oh goodness, I hope you're not in Workday right now.
It's more sad when it goes down like this.
I don't like stocks going down. When you trade, you've got to be able to short because you're a trader. But there's nothing fun about, actual value getting eroded in something. I tell this all the time, and I'll never forget in 2008, for a lot of traders and day traders and a lot of traders alike, 2008 might have been your best year. I can tell you it was it was really close. Easily my one or two in the 20 years that I've traded. And I remember you'd make money and then you'd go home and it's like the market's down even more. And everyone is complaining about the market and how much money they're losing. And when you're a trader, this is the best thing ever. Yeah. And all you want to do is shut up and not talk about it. And I'm being dead serious. I would not talk about how well I was doing to my parents or to my dad specifically because everyone else is losing money. You felt bad about it. Yeah. I know we've got Chris Brecher loaded and ready to go. So I get to hit this button, which I don't always get to, which is, boom. It is Trader Talk. I'm so happy to be able to get a chance to talk to you. Chris Brecher from Simpler Trading, Senior Managing Director of Simpler Stocks. Now, Chris, welcome, but I just want to warn you here. For about the last 30 minutes or maybe longer on the afternoon show, I did somewhat tease that you had a fantastic play today, and I wouldn't tell everybody what it was. I just told them that it wasn't NVIDIA. So there's some expectations here. I already know what it is, and I thought it was great.
Well, that was nice of you to say. I'm actually looking forward to some of the puns. So I heard there's the pun meister is in the house.
Hi, yeah. Good afternoon.
Hey. Yeah, if I find some, I'll let you know. A lot of times people mute me on the live chat because of some of the puns I have.
Oh,
not around here.
No, we love puns in this house. We do love puns.
Oh, cool. So let me just tell you what we were doing today. Obviously, everybody watching NVIDIA, but it's really cool. The title of my video for our room last night was, I don't care if NVIDIA had great earnings. And I put out the video after NVIDIA's earnings. I don't care what the earnings are. There are too many negative divergences to ignore. So this wasn't about NVIDIA today. It was about, could you find other things to short if you were bearish? And you might be like, why the heck would you even think of short? And I'll show you some charts. So I'm really into consolidation patterns, reversal patterns, but I'm really into correlations. So when I'm looking at the correlations in here, I'm watching this. So, and we've been showing these for days, so it's pretty exciting. So right here on the left is the transports. And on the transports, this is where when the CPI came out. So I've changed these markers. It's really exciting to see them big like that. That's pretty cool. But right here, May 14th, if you look at the bottom, May 15th is when the CPI came out, when everything gapped up. So we could put this on a 4-hour chart right there. That's when everything gapped up. On the left, we'll put the Russell. And sure enough, there's your CPI gap, and it blew through it. The bonds are under the CPI gap, and the industrials blew through it today. Like you see, not even close. So the whole theory is that if they're blowing through the gap, even on the opening, then you got to play the things that haven't done it yet. That doesn't mean they'll go all the way to the gap, but it means that I'm going to look for short ideas. So over here is the gap for the NDX on the CPI gap. On the left is the SPX with the CPI gap. And as you see, the SPX actually did it. But the problem is, you might say, I don't feel like playing JP Morgan. It doesn't move that much. I don't want to play NVIDIA. So let's take a chip stock that already isn't acting so hot, and it might have geopolitical risk. Now, this was suggested by a client, and they were right. So the whole idea is that the Chinese market has been getting nailed. Yeah, just lately. I mean, it's in a big old bull market. But the Chinese market, China is showing some strong arms situations around Taiwan with the new election of the president in Taiwan. So our idea was to play Taiwan Semiconductor. The whole theory is that even if the markets rallied, this stock would go down, at least after the opening, just based on geopolitical problems. So if you look, we play the China Bull ETF a lot, the YINN, and it was getting really hit on the opening. This is the opening. Gap down, even though Taiwan Semiconductor gapped up. So what we did in Taiwan here, right here, pretty exciting. Right there, we bought put flies for tomorrow. So we bought the 160 puts, sold twice as many 155 puts. You see the gap down here. Nice. There's your gap. So that's why our middle strike was at there. So we bought these, sold those, bought the 150 puts. So we did this spread, and I'll show you. And we're out. I just want to make clear that we're out. But we went and did this. So we went and faded this. We could have played SMCI. We could have played Lam Research. But this was a good bang for the buck. So what we did in here is we went into here, and we did this spread for $1.65. And you could do it as many times as you wanted. So right there, we did it for $1.65. We sold it at $2.20. So made the 45 cents on a 55 cents on a $1.65 investment. So it worked great. And then the stock rallied. So that made it even better.
Oh, I mean, that's such a perfect. You know what I love about that is there's an entire process to it, because you could have approached it with oh well, whatever, there's a million things that could go down and I'll have a reason for it. But you also had specifically that China risk, which was embedded. You were able to get some confirmation with some weakness actually in the Asian markets overnight. So it's not just that you have your indicators going down. You're actually picking something which has another fundamental reason, not that it matters, but it helps when it does, to take it into the downside. My one question that I would have here is, so when TSM, because Like I actually, like as a day trader, when TSM bounced off 156, I mean literally 156 even. Like I waited for that
right
level
when we got out. It was really exciting.
because like to me, like I had a long in it off that level. So I'm like, oh, I mean, give me a break. Like 156, it was support previously. You mentioned the gap just on a pure momentum play. It was a quick bounce into VWAP where you're in and out in a couple of minutes. But I want to talk about more like when that abated. I didn't think it would go to the highs. I thought it was trend down, so it should stop in here. And when it broke back in, and then you're right back at the highs, is there ever a temptation, and like you said, you're out? Did you look for an opportunity to retake that trade? Or were you just like, hey, we had our setup, it worked, great, you bank your money? Or were you thinking to yourself, maybe, do I want to roll the dice again on it because you've still got half the day and not much might have changed overall?
Yeah, that's a great question. Actually, what I did is I watched it rally. I never thought it would go to a new high. But we go a lot on that ATR trailing stop that, I've talked about on here a lot. Intraday. So just the ATR trailing stop. And so when I saw this, so when it got over the ATR trailing stop, I mean, that was a great buy on your part. There was no way to play it on the downside. But when it broke, there was my warning sign. And then when it formed that little head and shoulders top, I shorted small.
There you go.
Just small, like 40 shares, but they made 3 points. So, it starts parlaying on you. But that's what I did is I actually re-shorted it in that area.
And so just to be clear, everybody, I did not know Chris did that. It was like genuinely like, hey, this is what happened. For the life of me, I gave up half the move in the long. I'm not going to pretend that I didn't see it getting to the high either, Chris. I
didn't see that whatsoever with all the geopolitical
still surprised.
Risk. But as you see, there was a time and place to play it on the downside.
Yes.
And there was a time and place to get back in it. But here you're going against the grain, even if it makes no sense whatsoever. So yeah, I re-shorted right there. Right there. And then did I buy the bottom? I didn't make 3 points. I made here, that consolidation. So I made a quick 2.25 points. And it was only 30 shares, but there's $75 more. And it was fun because I was using house money.
Well, we always talk about that. Like the best trades are, A, when you're convicted, B, when you're able to sort of play with those profits. But the key is there. Like you had to actually wait for an hour or so after it made that high for it to even set up that next trade. And we talk about being patient all the time on the live show. If you're not willing to be patient for your trade to set up and confirm, you're going to find yourself in a bit of trouble because the market's always going to look like it has an opportunity, but you just want to make sure you're taking your A+ setup. I don't want to keep you. I want to keep you too long, but I just wanted to quickly ask you. Look, okay, we've just had NVIDIA blow things out. The end of the day was pretty nasty overall in the market. Literally everything was down, with the exception, SMH was only up because of NVIDIA anyway, so you can pretty much count the chips as quote-unquote down outside of NVIDIA. We got the end of the week coming up. Obviously, you're going to get options expirations. Do you have anything that you're set up for or at least looking at to end the week or maybe going into next week, Chris?
We didn't talk about all of these things, but I had it ready for you. So the first one is this. So I thought I'd show you Memorial Day, like what usually happens around Memorial Day. So here I had this all ready for you. Memorial Day is between the 26th and the 30th at the end of the month. And the reason I'm showing you that is then on the bottom, I have every day at the end of the month since 1950 what the returns have been. And you'll see overall the returns are pretty good. And then the first day of June, usually it's pretty good, and then it's bad. So the whole thing was to take your profits today just for historical tendencies.
Right.
I mean, now, this is where it gets a little hairy because Memorial Day is actually relatively early this year. So, if you go up tomorrow because of Memorial Day, I think the first thing you're going to see is it still to me matters on what goes on with the bond market the next couple of days. I really obsess about the bond market. And can it start to come back? Because that's been a big divergence. So you've had the Russell diverge. You've had the Dow Jones transports diverge. you've had the industrials diverge, and you had the bonds diverge. So to me, it was just a matter of time before the S&P at the minimum went to that CPI gap. But for me to really get bullish, like swing long bullish, I mean, now, there were times, obviously you see the cross over that, but I would love to see this overshoot to here and then have the bond market on the other hand break that could be a bull flag. So I'd love to see the bonds go up to here and the S&P have another 100-point sell-off, and then I'll get really bullish.
Absolutely love to see it.
Yeah, thank you so much for going over that. We actually have a super chat for you. So thank you so much, Turin Tarambar, for the $5 super chat asking, Chris, are the bears just yawning and going back to bed or actually waking up?
The thing is, sentiment, put call ratio sentiment and all that is actually a little too bullish. But let's just look real quick. This is going to be the big nut right there. So usually when I get bearish, I like to, just like you saw with Taiwan today, whether it's a daily, an hourly, a 1 minute, when you see this on a 1 minute and you see where you can draw that trend line, that beautiful trend line right here. Amazon had that yesterday, almost the same pattern. If I saw the ES on a daily chart have some kind of trend line cross, I'd get really bearish. But I'd love to say we're like a week from an all-time high. We're at an all-time high this morning. So for me to really get bearish, I need to see a big trend line develop. And just like you talked about patience, that might take a week or two.
Yeah, I think it's an important point because it's better to be right in the trade than to be perfect. Like everyone wants to sell the top and buy the bottom. And you know what? Usually that involves guessing. But if you watch it bounce, or you watch the trend change, and then you get in with a little more confidence, A, you're going to put on the trade because you're confident in it. And then B, you're not going to have to worry about going against the grain. Because as you said this morning, we're at all-time highs. The other point I wanted to make here, just for everyone that maybe you're newer to trading, it's Memorial Day, a long weekend as well. Sometimes people can get a little bit skittish. If we were to rally a lot tomorrow, I'd be surprised. If we do a big rally tomorrow, I'm going to be looking for retracements late in the afternoon, just because of the overnight, the 3-day effect. People are going to be taking it off, and then you get the hangover next week. But thank you so much, Chris. I think you've basically covered everything. And what I love about this is every time we get smart traders on, I know you can kind of put them on the spot about ideas. And knowing that you put the work in, you're going to have something for us. I know we didn't discuss that, but thank you at least for, I know you were prepared for something there.
Yeah, anytime. Anytime you want to throw anything at me, it'll probably stick. So no, all kidding aside, anything you need, let me know.
Thank you very much. Chris Brecher, Senior Managing Director, Simpler Stocks. Find him at Simpler Trading and on this market recap show every single week. A fantastic guest in front of the show. We appreciate you, Chris.
Take care.
Press the button. Which button?
Trader Talk.
I know. You're like, press the button. I'm like, what? I don't usually have to. Ramin doesn't make me press the button. Why do I? No, I'm just messing with you there, Fabian. It's all good. I thought we'd get a what?
I just thought that was funny. The Ramin doesn't make me press the button.
No, but I'm just. We like to be honest around here.
We do, yeah.
And I'm just keeping it real. Like I press the button. Usually we just get out of here. I wanted to go over TraderView, but thankfully we were able to talk about your experience being short on AMD, which I think was good. That said, if you didn't plan the trade, it is what it is. You just get out even if it's a winner. That was a banger short. I wish I had, if I had done a little bit more work, maybe I would have been looking short on TSM and AMD and some of those others. And I think you just come in there sometimes with a bias and it gets the best of you.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that. And like we always say, the best you can do is just build back as much as you can. Build from the bottom. Sometimes you get it all back, you get a little back. It's better than being at your worst point in the day. Congratulations on being positive today.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
An easy one. However, There's also something we do around here. I see it's, okay, we've already done trade review. We kind of skipped that by going over some of the other things. But let's get into what I know a lot of people want to see here. First of all, I'm going to start the roll call off the way that I always do when I get to fill in for Shawn, which is a lot of fun with all of you here. And that is by shouting out Bears versus Bulls, the single best moderator in all of YouTube. Thank you for everything you do, the positivity in the morning and sort of rallying the troops and keeping everything calm in the chat and making sure that we get to all the messages. I think you do a fantastic job. Big shout out to Chris. We appreciate you in there. Such a great guy. You're right. And we'll start, you know what? Because Michelle just complimented Chris, you get the first shout out. Michelle Meir says, thank you, Chris. We say thank you. Roll call starts with you. And we got Royal Dixon. We got Jay Lee, Ike Anderson, Sebastian with the Neil Dara.
Oh, yeah.
I like that. And then he says Dara Neil. That's how it should be.
Dara Neil.
A ladies first. Also, it's not age before beauty, it's beauty before age. As far as I'm concerned, it should always be the other way around. So shout out to you, Sebastian. Vin, what up? We got Robbie V. We've got Pitchbull. We've got M. Kelsey. We've got Sebastian again, just coming up with new ones. Dareal? I don't know, that's a little bit different, that one. Molfar, shout out to you. JJ, short AMD, you're 100% right. I really wish I had. I did not. MJD, Asta, Yatu37, Michelle again, Randall, Laguerre, apple and raisin pancake with powdered sugar all day, every day. I would love to be eating that right now. I'm always hungry. Ike Anderson, the Piper. We've got Pranya in the house. Aaron Scott Matthews, best name in the chat as far as I'm concerned. Francis De La Cruz, Yoel Reyna, Miscellaneous H, hello to you too. Vin in the chat, one brown chick in the chat, the Piper, Pitchbull again, Sherry Punjab Stud Farm, there's a name for you. Future Eddie in the house, we got Francis again, Molfar again, Turkan in the chat as well. Shout out to all of you, Dewey, Alvin, Donkey Trader. Oh my goodness, there's one of these days, and I gotta do it when Shawn's on, I'm gonna end it there. One of these days, and I have to tell the story when Shawn is on. Shawn went to university at Laurier, and I went to Waterloo. They're adjacent, and there was an alumni softball tournament in Laurier that they would play, and they'd bring me on as a ringer, and everyone thought I played for Laurier because I used to hang out all the time with Laurier people. The name of our team was the Donkey Squad, and it's exactly, the guy who made the team, it's not like, it's what you think it is. It was literally what you think it is,
That's so
and it was hilarious, and we were the most hated team in that tournament, because everyone came to drink beer, and the captain on that team came to win. And it's a lot of fun. We have some great stories about that. It was a lot of fun at university. Shawn and I have known each other since high school. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. It's always a blast. Congratulations on being green once again.
Thank you.
Good luck if you happen to be in Workday, which is getting shellacked. And we're going to do it all again tomorrow. We're going to have the chips moving. We're going to have NVDA in play one more time. We're going to end the week with a bang, 8:30 tomorrow morning at Trader TV Live. We'll see you tomorrow.